Many of us dream about financial freedom, but what does it really mean to live without the stress of money? Well, we will hopefully have some advice on some sort of financial peace for you with the best-selling author and broadcaster Eoin McGee. Drawing on his experiences as a financial planner, Eoin explores practical ways to make choices that align with our values and create a future where work doesn't define our peace of mind. In his book, How to Achieve Financial Freedom, he touches on these ideas. Eoin McGee, a very good morning to you.
Thanks for having me on, Alan. Really appreciate it.
No bother. I suppose when we talk about the phrase financial freedom, Owen, what do we mean? Does that mean having more money or just needing less?
It's defined by, I suppose, by me, but I suppose by a broader community than just me. It would be the point in your life where you've created enough wealth that you don't have to work again and you don't have to worry about money. Now, everyone will get there in their life. Some people will get there when they're 32 and some people will get there when they're 92. But everybody has a day of financial freedom or a day of financial independence where you no longer have to get up in the morning to make money to cover the bread and milk. And people can sometimes get really caught up with, oh, I'll never get there. How is that achievable? Or it seems very out of sight. The reality is it's changed quite a bit in terms of what people see as financial freedom or the point that's recognised as being it. Traditionally, it was a case of you spent 40 years in the same job and on the last day, they gave you a watch or something nice and you spawned off and you read the paper in the conservatory or you played golf or whatever it was that floated your boat, and that was the traditional route. Today, and I'd say it a lot in private practice, to be honest with you, people are much more about, I'd love to turn the volume down on work from 55 years of age onwards. I'd love to do something different like charity, or I'd like to, an interesting couple of ones that have come to me in recent times, I'd love to be a librarian, or I'd love to be a postman or person or woman, whatever the correct phrase is. And there's lots of varying degrees of, I just want the shackles off of having to work every day to provide for myself. And it's interchangeable and it's very different for different people.
You encourage people to design a future that aligns with their values. I guess people have to figure out what those values are. But how can someone tell, Owen, if their spending reflects the life they actually want or it's just the life they feel pressured to live?
Yeah, I think society has a huge impact on what we think is right. Like, I think cars is a great example of that. I think the people who sell new cars don't really like when I talk about these things, but I would often have a situation where you'd be with a client and the client is doing well and they've got good jobs and savings and pensions and they don't have a whole pile of debts, or maybe it's just the mortgage, and they turn to me and they say, "Oh, and how come John and Mary, every second year they rock up with a new car and I'm here with my 6-year-old, 7-year-old car and I don't change the car every 2 years?" The reality is that when you look at the statistics on it, if you see someone in a new car and you're watching it going down the road, don't say to yourself, "Wow, look at that new car." Say to yourself, "Wow, look at that new loan." Because that's most likely what it is. It's a new loan. Most cars in Ireland are bought, particularly new ones, are bought with some degree of finance on them. And that's a choice that John and Mary have made next door for themselves. Sometimes it's a treadmill they're on, and sometimes you can get caught up with that. But that can sometimes come with societal pressure. And the reality is, anybody, like most of us, have financial independence or financial freedom within reach right now today. If you've enough to get on a flight to some random place in the world where you can live in the bushes and live like Tarzan or whoever it might be, you could give up the lifestyle you have today and live off the land and be in financial freedom. The reality is there are luxuries that we enjoy ourselves, that we want to keep in our life. And more importantly, and I think this is probably the crux of this book, there are people in our lives that we want to keep in our lives. Yeah. And therefore, that's the reason we don't disappear. It's really interesting when you look at it, when you really do the research. There's one piece of research that I call on in the book, and Harvard did a longitudinal study. I hate that word. I can't say it, so I got it out there, so I'm very proud of myself. But they did a very long study, and they covered the same group of people for about 80 years. And they measured their health, their success in life, their success in their work career, their wealth. They measured everything to do with the people, and they kept checking in with them on a regular basis. And they didn't set out to discover this, but one of the things that they discovered is the true key to happiness is actually relationships. Now, that might be a relationship with your partner. It's not necessarily a relationship with your partner, like your spouse. And it's not necessarily, it isn't actually got to, they've shown that it's not actually got to do with the quantity of relationships you have. It's got to do with the quality of relationships we have. And ultimately what it comes down to is where we really get joy from life is the people in it. And I would always say life is about experiences, not things. But actually life is about experiences with people.
Yeah,
and people that
true.
we love and we enjoy spending time with. And one of the things is if you don't crack that, if you don't understand what it is that gives you joy, makes you tick and gets you up out of bed in the morning, there's no point in spending any time trying to sort out your money or tackle your finances, because when you get there, and I've witnessed this, when you get there, if you're miserable and broke, I can promise you're going to be miserable and rich. And it's not a nice place to be. And sometimes when you've loads of money and you're still miserable, you can't blame the fact that you're trying to get rich on the reason that your unhappiness, and you have to actually face it, and it can be a very difficult time.
Eoin, we're very much out of time, but I have to quickly ask you before we finish. You mentioned earlier on, it doesn't matter what age you are, you will achieve financial freedom at some point, and the book speaks to people starting out, starting over, reassessing their lives. What would you quickly say to someone who feels it's too late to change?
It's absolutely. I was really surprised. I did a live show last week in the Lime Tree in Limerick, and when I looked around the room and the house lights came up, there was about 450 people in the room, and the age range was so diverse. It was everything from very young people to people who have a bit more mileage on the legs, let's say. And it was great to see. It's never too late. It's never too early, but it's never too late to start making improvements to your finances.
Well, I tell you what, that's comforting to a lot of us, that is for sure. Eoin, thank you so much for joining us. The book is called How to Achieve Financial Freedom. Make sure you get your hands on that because who doesn't want to achieve financial freedom, whether you are 32 or 92? Eoin McGee, the best-selling author and broadcaster, there with us on Morning Focus.